Hey everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019. Just lovely. As usual, a bunch of stuff to talk about. Let's start off with this. As I am doing this video blog, stocks are under pressure. Not an overwhelming amount of pressure. However, earlier today, they certainly were. Stocks opened, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, more specifically, opened about 400 points in the negative. As I am doing this video blog, it's still lower, but only by about 170 points. That's a pretty substantial move. Asian markets got battered overnight, and that's a whole other thing. But let's focus on what's happening here. Gold and silver are catching a nice bid. Cryptocurrencies are catching a nice bid. Cash is moving into the bond market as well, and that is putting pressure on the yield curve, which is essentially flat right now. Here's the bigger deal with regard to what's happening here in our country. As we all know, last week, the president issued a buy recommendation with regard to the stock market after his Treasury Secretary met with 6 of the world's largest banks on Wall Street. Stocks went up. All right. In order for the president to win the next election, there's just no way out of this one. His call has got to be right. Otherwise, the media is going to crucify the man. There's no doubt about it. What does that mean? The president is going to have to rely heavily on his Treasury Secretary, the Wall Street banks, and the Federal Reserve. Just as I've been explaining for the longest time, I've been saying specifically that it's not just our president here. It's every single world leader. They're in bed with their central bank. Nobody wants this to come down on their watch. Do I blame the president for that? No, I really don't blame him, because this is something we have all participated in. We walk around believing that everything is just great, and we all want to live the life that we live for the most part here, and that means distorting this market. Not having a free market, relying on, backdoor deals, collusion between world leaders and their central banks to keep the illusion real. Otherwise, the situation. It's Mad Max. Period. The end. I explained to you all kinds of stuff, how money works, where people aren't looking, what they should be paying attention to. But it's just so simple to understand. If the president is wrong on his call, if he's proven to be wrong, and I really don't want him to be wrong, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. That's the truth. Anybody, who will suffer here if these markets melt down? Well, it's going to be the middle class, as always. So, it's kind of a strange situation that we are in, and the president created this for himself a little bit. But again, I don't blame the man for what's happening. I do hate the rigging of the markets, and it's so in our face, it's actually beyond belief. And who knows, we all know, we all are keenly aware that these distortions in this market will correct to fair value no matter what goes on. At one particular time, the house of cards is coming down. But understand what we witnessed last week between the president, the Treasury Secretary, the Wall Street banks, obviously the Federal Reserve in the loop here. This must continue for the president to win the next election, especially after the recommendation to buy. He should have kept his mouth shut. He can't do it. He's very impulsive. And, being impulsive isn't always a negative. So I'm not beating up on the president here. I'm just trying to put a perspective as to what needs to be done for those that want the president to win again. He's going to have no time here to reset anything, to kind of deal with issues outside of being reelected here. He's in that time zone. It's right now. And that means more rigging of the markets, more twisting of the markets, more distorting of the markets, more backdoor deals to keep this market propped up, especially in light of the buy recommendation. Let's see how this plays out moving forward here, people. I don't want to see anyone lose. Anyway, I want our president to be successful. I want the middle class to be successful. But I do want a real market. I mean, you all know that. I want a real market. But if the market becomes real, and that yield curve, which is not even a curve anymore, and no one's talking about it, our president certainly won't talk about it, that's saying something. It really, really is. Anyway, let's see what happens today. Maybe stocks will finish in the positive. It'll be interesting to see that. That's all I have to say. All right. Over now.